If you do become a victim, though, don't resist. Let them have the car. Then call the police. From the Alaska State Troopers, the true story of a vicious criminal determined to maintain his life of crime, and the trooper who challenged him. His fellow Alaska State Troopers help us recreate the dramatic story of Lieutenant Robin Lown.
I'm telling you, man, I'm not going to put up with it anymore.
Come on,
you cheated me in prison. I told you, cheated me now. That's my stuff, man. You got to keep your damn hands off my stuff. I'm telling you, I'm not going to say more anymore, man.
Carl Mendoza met Jack Walters in jail, where they were both serving time for first-degree assault and burglary. They've been hanging around together since getting out 2 days ago. This morning, they're arguing over something that happened behind bars. Mendoza's girlfriend helps him with Walter's body.
I'm telling you, he's just knocked out. I'll take care of him. Go get in the bathroom and clean up the blood.
His girlfriend is wanted for kidnapping and assault.
Man, I thought you told me there was work here. Well, I thought there'd be. Oh, there ain't nothing. Look at this place. We're gonna have to do something else. This ain't gonna get it. Come on, get up. Let's go. Go for a ride.
No, don't shoot me.
Come on. We're just going for a damn ride. Let's go.
Please, I won't tell anybody about Jack. Don't kill me.
Well, then do what I say. Let's go. Pull in the driveway here.
In need of quick cash, Mendoza and the woman pick a house at random.
Can I help you?
Killers on the loose in Alaska when we come back.
Armed robbery, grand theft auto.
Carl Mendoza kills a man he met in jail and goes to Alaska with his girlfriend, who also has warrants out for her arrest.
Can I help you?
What the?
Come here.
Juneau police detectives begin an investigation. They find the girlfriend's cigarette butt, Mendoza's handprint, and a boot print with a notch missing from the heel. But they still don't know where the killer is.
I want a cold beer. It's warm. Warm beer. So, Carl, where'd you get that VCR? Rob a bank or something?
Oh, yeah, no, you want to do that?
Well.
Hey, get that. Cops are here.
Let's get out of here. Party's over. Come on. Let's go. Party's over. Get out of here.
Troopers get a call about a party that's gotten out of hand. One of the intoxicated guests reports that she's been molested. Sergeant Robin Lown arrives to look into the situation.
I'm gonna go in the house, see if I can find her. Hello? Is anyone else in the house?
No. You can look for yourself.
Lown knows about the stolen VCR and the brand of cigarettes found on the scene from a briefing earlier that day. Matching the VCR and the cigarettes with the boot print at the murder scene, Sergeant Lown arrests Carl Mendoza. The girlfriend pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 75 years in prison. The murderer pled guilty to first-degree murder and got 99 years without parole. He also pled guilty to first-degree murder in Colorado and was given life in prison. Robin Lown received a Meritorious Service Award. He is now a lieutenant in command of Southeast Alaska.
Statistically, children being transported in a school bus are using the safest mode of transportation in the United States. It's when they are getting on and off the school bus that they are more likely to become accident victims. The cause is usually a motorist passing a school bus and ignoring the flashing red lights, or being inattentive to the potential danger of children around the bus. If you see a school bus stop, immediately go on alert. Sometimes children make surprise moves like darting out in front of a passing car. The message for drivers is never take anything for granted around a school bus. This file from the Oklahoma Highway Patrol is about Trooper Terry Dixon and what he calls his sixth sense about the criminal mind. Trooper Dixon tells us just how he used that instinct in our reenactment of his real story.
22-year-old Brian Christopher was born and raised in Kansas, where he has a history of trouble with the police. Now, after a fight with his girlfriend, he's driven to Texas to let off some steam. Having no money, he finds a wealthy neighborhood. Bob and Marjorie Walters' party celebrating their new house is just about to end, and only a few guests remain.
What are you doing? Stop!
Hey, what are you doing? I should have done that. Give me your key! Give me your key! Give me your key! Here, just don't hurt us.
After ditching his own car, Christopher steals a truck and drives to Oklahoma. Oklahoma Highway Patrol Trooper Terry Dixon is on his way home after finishing the night shift. Trooper Dixon sees the truck thief running over the shoulder of the on-ramp, and he turns around to check out whether the driver is under the influence. Trooper Dixon was with the Ardmore Police Department for 7 years before becoming a trooper 10 years ago. He's wanted to be in law enforcement since he was 10 years old. The robber has been in trouble with the law since breaking into his first house at the age of 13, stealing his first car a year later.
Need to see your driver's license, please.
Man, I don't have any.
Let me see your vehicle registration and your insurance information, please.
The gunman hands the trooper a garage work order.
I need. That's not going to help me. Where you headed?
I just get off to get some fuel.
Well, your tank shows to be full.
Just get off to top it off.
Dixon's sixth sense tells him something's wrong. A vicious gunman gets the drop on the Oklahoma Highway Patrol when we come back.
Crime loves to party.
What are you doing? Stop!
Hey, what are you doing? I shouldn't have done that.
Career criminal Brian Christopher shoots a man and steals a truck in Texas. Driving through Oklahoma to escape, Trooper Terry Dixon pulls him over for erratic driving.
Come on, get him. Let's go.
3 high school students on their lunch hour chase after the gunman, while 2 witnesses from a local towing company stop to help the fallen trooper.
A trooper's been shot. A trooper's been shot. Get out here immediately.
The witnesses try to follow the gunman. State troopers set up a roadblock to trap the fugitive, but he goes around them.
Put your hands up! Freeze! Put the gun down!
The gunman was taken into custody, but escaped twice before being sentenced. He was recaptured and found guilty on 2 counts of aggravated assault. He was sentenced to 201 years in prison. The gunman's first victim was paralyzed in the shooting and still lives in Texas. Terry Dixon underwent surgery to remove a bullet from his brain. He was awarded Trooper of the Year for valor. He retired 6 months later and is now a security supervisor.
Next on H&I, Renegade, followed by Kung Fu.
To those in traffic safety, there is no question that more drivers are running through yellow traffic signals. Yellow means caution, prepare to stop. But some people have redefined it as speed up. I have to make this light. The Arizona Department of Public Safety provided the file for our next true story. A man having one last night out before going to jail comes up against Arizona Highway Patrol Officer John Hand. Our thanks to the Arizona Department of Public Safety for their assistance in bringing you the actual events.
Little brother. What a night. Oh, come on, let's go, little brother.
1 month ago, in a drunken rage, Mike Garcia beat a man to death with a baseball bat. Out on bail, tomorrow, he's pleading guilty to manslaughter. He's been out drinking all night and into the morning with his brother for what could be his last fling for many years to come. Arizona Highway Patrol Officer John Hahn is working DUI enforcement, looking for drunk drivers.
Sam, I want you to take care of Ginny for me, man. I'm counting on you, man. Man, don't worry.
Before joining the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Officer Hahn worked for the Tempe Police Department for 7 years.
Oh, man, you gotta be kidding me, man. You're busted. What am I gonna do, man? Here's what you tell him. I'm sorry, officer. I'm sorry. My wife just went into labor.
Well, do you need me to call the fire department for her or anything?
No, her mother's with her.
Well, then there's no reason for you to be speeding then, right? Hey, partner, can I get you to sit back in the car for me, please? How much you had to drink today?
Yeah, 2 beers.
Well, let's step over here to the curb. I need to give you some field tests. First thing I want you to do is I want you to count on your fingers for me just like this. I want you to go 1, 2, 3, 4.
The officer notices that the man seems intoxicated and runs a few field sobriety tests on him. His experience tells him that the man's blood alcohol level is probably well over the legal limit.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, that's enough. Need for you to step over here, put your hands on the car. You're under arrest for driving while under the influence of intoxicating liquor. Give me your hand behind your back here.
Please don't arrest me, officer. Please don't arrest me.
Mike, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mike? Mike, let's get out of here. Come on, Mike, get out of here. Mike.
Go on, get out of here. We'll blow your head off, man.
A killer with nothing to lose. The rest of Officer Hahn's true story when we come back.
Call now.
While out on bail for manslaughter, Mike Garcia goes drinking with his brother. When Arizona Highway Patrol Officer John Hahn tries to arrest him, the killer shoots the officer with his own gun. His brother tries to take the keys to the patrol car, but he can't get them out.
Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Without Hahn stumbles to his car to radio for help.
999. Officer shot. Officer down. Officer needs assistance.
But with the ignition turned off, the radio is dead. He turns the motor on and tries again.
Down. Officer needs assistance. 999.
Mike, you're in trouble now.
Told you, man.
Man, leave it.
Damn, I told you. I knew it was going to happen.
After dropping off his brother, Garcia goes to his girlfriend's house.
I just shot a cop.
Put the gun down.
I said I just shot a cop.
A Phoenix Police Department helicopter locates Han. An ambulance takes him to the hospital, where he is rushed into surgery. The gunman died only minutes after shooting Officer Han. His girlfriend left the country 2 weeks after this incident. His brother was convicted of first-degree hindering of an officer. Because he was not directly involved in the assault and had no prior arrest record, he received 3 years probation. John Han had 4 surgeries on his shoulder before returning to full duty a year later. He is now an organized crime unit investigator. After this incident, departmental policy changed. Officers now receive a checkup call from dispatch within 5 minutes of any stop.
I think you underestimated.
When an ambulance or other emergency vehicle comes up behind you with red lights flashing, your response should be automatic. Move right out of the traffic lane if possible and stop. Emergency vehicle operators report lots of other responses, which means some misunderstand what they are supposed to do. Several reactions are actually hazardous: stopping dead in traffic, stopping in the intersection, and in some cases, pulling left. The correct move is simple. A red light means move to the right.
What does it...
Next, Utah Highway Patrol Trooper Dean Kay comes face to face with a con man with a dangerous knowledge of martial arts and guns. Trooper Kay helps us reenact his dramatic real story.
Hunter is house-sitting for a friend who's in the hospital. Hunter, a former British commando, sees his chance to steal the man's gun collection. A weapons and martial arts expert as well, Hunter is wanted in England for theft of plastic explosives.
Hey, let me give you a hand with that. Oh, there you go. You know what? This is a work area. I can move your van for you if you give me the keys.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you.
No, thank you.
In America, Hunter has survived by gaining his victims' confidence, then robbing them blind. The car he stole in Washington has broken down. So to keep moving, Hunter adds another successful con job to his list and steals the man's van. Trooper Dean Kay, married with 3 children, works rotating shifts covering 150 square miles in southern Utah. By now, Hunter has moved into the same area where he plans to continue his criminal spree. Trooper Kay spots the con man going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit.
St. George, 213.
The high mountains block out all radio contact. Trooper Kay is all alone as he walks toward an armed and dangerous man.
Amidst chaos can always come peace.
A British confidence man steals guns, a car, and a van before fleeing to Utah. Trooper Dean Kay is on patrol and pulls him over for speeding.
Your driver's license and registration.
Yes, sir. Actually, I borrowed this vehicle from a friend of mine.
Being that it's desolate out here, I'll let you go with a warning today.
I'd say you've got a deal. Right.
Later, Hunter sees another opportunity to steal. He helps a man change a flat tire, then follows him home. In return, the man gives Hunter his boat for a week.
Dean, did you hear about that guy?
During an accident investigation, Kay learns that the same man he stopped earlier in the day is wanted for weapons and auto theft.
I better check him out.
He contacts the owner of the van and heads to the lake where it's been located by rangers. But Hunter's not there. Utah State Troopers spot the man, and knowing that Hunter is still armed, Trooper K formulates a plan.
This man is a martial arts expert. Let's get some leg irons on him.
The con man was extradited to Washington State, where he was found guilty of weapons and auto theft and given 2 years in prison. He was then sent to New Mexico on the stolen van charge, and then to England, where he is currently serving time on explosives charges. Dean K is now on patrol in St. George, Utah. He is in his 16th year with the Highway Patrol.
Next on H&I.
Right or wrong, handgun ownership has multiplied in the United States as many Americans believe they are reaching for protection against crime and violence. Millions of handguns are stored in closets, under beds, or in nightstands. Many of them are accessible to children, and access means potential tragedy. Handguns should be stored where a child won't see them and can't reach them. Just make it impossible. Don't let a gun take the life it was meant to protect. Next is the true story of Kansas Highway Patrol Trooper Doug Griffiths, who must confront a dangerous man armed with a shotgun. Trooper Griffiths personally reenacts his real story.
You gonna get dressed today, or you gonna live in those pajamas?
Forced.
Try looking for a job, you know.
There aren't any.
There are jobs. You just haven't tried hard enough. You gotta put a little effort into it, you know?
Off me.
Don't just sit around here smoking cigarettes all day. Well, I'm working hard at the hospital. You know, you could at least clean up around here.
Leave me alone.
Fine. Who needs this? No, I'm out of here.
Duncan Stapleton is discouraged and angry. He's been out of work for months.
Clean up? I'll clean up.
Oh, God!
Clean up? I'll clean up.
Trooper Doug Griffiths is enjoying some time off with his 2 children.
Honey, phone.
Who is it?
It's the dispatch.
Could you come and take the kids, please?
Griffiths is called to work to see if he can help with the Stapleton situation. The gunman's wife is called at work. Trooper Griffiths picks her up, hoping that she can reason with her husband.
This is like him. He would never... what
Wait a
happened?
minute. I need to know a little bit about his background. Has he ever been in the military?
Yes, he was in the Army, airborne.
When he learns that the man has had extensive weapons training, he becomes more concerned. The trooper's brother, Scott, a deputy sheriff, is one of the first to get to the scene. The gunman has fired nearly 40 rounds out of his windows, and the neighborhood has been evacuated. The trooper brings the man's wife to a neighbor's house to talk with him by telephone.
Come on inside. It's a lot safer. I think there's a phone around the corner we can use here.
Yeah.
Come on, Duncan. Listen, we can work this out. It's not the end of the world.
Why don't you just lay off me?
No one's been hurt yet.
I'm hurt.
Put down your gun, Duncan, and come out.
Nah. You're trying to trick me.
No, I'm not.
Nah, I ain't going out. I ain't talking.
Duncan, don't.
Norton County Sheriff Myron Cochran is hit by the gunman. Kansas troopers try to stop a barricaded gunman when we come back.
Put your...
Oh, God!
A despondent, unemployed man barricades himself in his house. Kansas Highway Patrol Trooper Doug Griffiths tries to get him out. But the man shoots a local sheriff.
Duncan Stapleton, this is Reverend Garrity. I just want to talk to you.
Get that preacher out of here! I don't want to talk to nobody!
Duncan, please. No one's going to hurt you.
Trooper Griffiths is worried that it will be dark soon, and the man might try to get away. He wants to put an end to the standoff as soon as possible. He decides to use tear gas. The gunman has nailed the back door and windows of the house shut. He has no choice but to go out through the front of the house.
Stop! Police officer! Stop! Get down! Get down on the ground! Get down on the ground!
Who's the GI son of a bitch?
The gunman pled guilty to aggravated assault to a police officer and felony damage to property. He received 12 years in prison and paid restitution for damage to surrounding houses.
Should have shot me, boy!
Myron Cochran recovered from minor wounds to his head. He is still the Norton County Sheriff.
I was concerned, worried. I could see that he had a head wound. I was afraid it might be terminal. Felt a great deal of relief once I did get there, and he was able to converse with me, and he was able to sit up.
Doug Griffiths is now in charge of arms training for the state trooper recruits.
Anyone can be a fighter.
A few years ago in California, a driver looked into the back seat of his car for an audio tape. In the brief moment the driver's eyes were off the road, the car veered, striking 4 bicyclists. All 4 died. With a moment's distraction, 4 lives were lost. Manipulating a car in today's high-stress traffic demands 100% of our time and our attention. Drive while you drive. It's not a part-time job. This Ohio State Highway Patrol file holds the report of Trooper Ivan Tietz in his pursuit of a disturbed man who victimized innocent women. Trooper Tietz reenacts his own dramatic real story.
Gary Jenner is a social misfit. Even in high school, he kept to himself, unable to make friends.
What the hell's your problem? What the hell are you doing? Don't get close to me. Get away from me.
After breaking up with his girlfriend 2 weeks ago, he began following young women on the Appalachian Highway. He rams their cars and tries to kidnap them in a bizarre act of revenge. Although 2 women have reported the incidents, authorities haven't been able to catch him.
How many drunks we get last night?
Tietz, arrest this guy. I've got a daughter that drives the Appalachian Highway.
A month after the attempted kidnapping, an Athens sheriff reports another ramming incident. Lieutenant Merrill Lehman assigns investigator Trooper Ivan Tietz to catch him.
highway.
The trooper meets with Athens County Sheriff John Hicks, investigator Phil Masai, and prosecutors investigator John Hopi.
Let's catch this guy.
The rammer strikes again that night on a different stretch of highway. The driver's boyfriend, asleep on the back seat, manages to get the first 3 numbers of the license plate, giving troopers their first real clue.
One's hard.
Using a list of cars registered in the area whose plates begin with 163, sheriff's deputies have 2 possible leads. Trooper Teets has tracked one suspect to a local factory. He develops a plan to use physical evidence to see if the car belongs to the rammer. He rubs an ultraviolet crayon on the car's bumper, figuring that it will leave a mark on any car that it hits. The suspect waits for his next target. A man in a jealous rage and another victim in jeopardy when we come back.
With Quell.
A young man, angry over breaking up with his girlfriend, rams young women drivers at night on a deserted Ohio road. When troopers get a lead, they mark the man's car bumper with ultraviolet crayon to try to catch him. The woman gets off the road and calls the highway patrol. Trooper Tim Literal hears the call and pulls the car over.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can I see your driver's license and registration, please?
Sure, officer. This is what we've been looking for. You see the glowing of the crayon that we used on the bumpers?
Mm-hmm. Trooper Charles Chapman finds fresh marks from the ultraviolet crayon on the most recent victim's car. Trooper Teets is notified that a suspect is in custody.
Gary, we've seen the same marks on the victim's car. We're going to use this evidence in court. Want to tell us about it now?
Gary Jenner confesses to half a dozen ramming incidents.
Okay, Gary, you're under arrest.
The rammer, who had no prior criminal record, pled guilty to felonious assault and kidnapping. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Charles Chapman still patrols Jackson County as he has for 21 years. Tim Literal is still a trooper in Jackson County, Ohio.
The impact on the victims of this type of crime, it was sheer terror for these ladies. Several of them said they were afraid to travel alone after dark. They just started being more cautious.
Ivan Teets is still an investigator with the Ohio State Highway Patrol.
Next on H&I.
A car hydroplanes when the tires ride up on a film of water and traction is gone. It's almost like a boat skimming along the surface of a lake. Disaster can follow in the form of an uncontrollable skid. There are 2 main causes of hydroplaning: tire tread and speed. Take a look at your tires. Deep grooves mean the tires are better equipped to dispel water and maintain road contact. But even more important, don't try to drive as fast on wet roads as you do on dry. Slow down and leave hydroplaning to boats. Anchorage, Alaska is the setting for our next real story. Sergeant Mike Mars is faced with an unexpected obstacle from 2 bank robbers, out to get what they want at any cost.
Are you working? I haven't worked in months.
Tracy Jones and Murray Singleton have been friends since their wives introduced them a year and a half ago. Singleton had a traffic accident 2 weeks ago and needs $2,500 to pay for the damage. Jones, who's always lived beyond his means, needs some quick cash for his car payment and rent.
Or something together. Are you crazy? No, it'll be easy. Look, all we got to do is get us a couple of ski masks, disguise ourselves, some big parkas, a couple of pieces, walk in there, demand the money, put it in the bag. Man, we're out of there.
Now, Jones wants to rob a bank, something he has 3 convictions for in California, Colorado, and Oregon.
This guy ran red lights.
Singleton has a prior conviction for larceny.
Child's ready.
I don't know, Tracy. What if someone recognizes us? Don't worry. That's what masks are all about. You need the money, don't you? Anyway, we'll listen to the scanner. We'll always know where the cops are. They can't possibly catch us. All right.
Down! Down! Get out! Put it down!
Get down here.
Get down!
Get away from those buttons.
Get down!
You,
Sit down!
put the money in this bag.
Don't move!
Get it all.
Get down! Hurry, come on! Let's go!
The men get away with more than $14,000 in cash. Anchorage police officer William Morris is stopping to take his lunch break.
Oh!
1033, shots fired. Officer assistance needed. Trailer park.
A witness in the trailer park sees the men running with guns drawn and stops Officer Morris to give him the license plate number.
Not that way.
2 white male suspects driving a black Jeep Cherokee, license plate number GTW24, northbound on Muldoon.
Come on, man, we better ditch the car.
The gunmen split up, thinking they'll avoid capture if they aren't together. Alaska State Troopers set up a roadblock. After 24 hours with no sign of the bandits, it's called off. An unmarked car is left behind to watch for the gunmen.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Hey, real good, man. How you doing?
This is my son, Timmy.
Hey, Tim.
Singleton takes his 3-year-old son with him to pick up his car, using part of his share of the money to pay for the repairs.
Big one, Zoya.
All right.
Come on, Timmy, let's go.
The mechanic becomes suspicious when he's paid cash in small bills, and knowing of Singleton's prior criminal record, he calls the police with the description of the car. A bank-robbing father puts his son's life in jeopardy when we come back.
Down! Down! Get out!
2 men rob a bank in Anchorage, Alaska, and try to kill a police officer during their escape. When the pair splits up, Alaska State Troopers see one of the men trying to leave the city with his 3-year-old son. Corporal Mike Mars is returning from the roadblock when Sergeant Fred Ingleton radios him to go to another location. Corporal Mars, an expert shooter with 15 years' experience, is a hunter, outdoorsman, and gun collector. Sergeant Ingleton is confident Mars can stop the car without harming the boy.
On the roadblock, you want me to shoot out the back tire?
Okay, but be careful. Remember, they have a kid in the car with them.
Was convicted of armed robbery and was given 5 years in prison. His son went through the ordeal unharmed. When Jones was arrested, he had the stolen police scanner and $500. The rest of the money was never recovered. Having fired the gun, he was convicted of bank robbery and assaulting a police officer. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Mike Mars received a letter of commendation from the FBI. He is now a sergeant supervising the major crime unit in Anchorage.
Anyone can be a fighter.
If you ride a bicycle at night, there's something you need to be aware of. Bikes can be very difficult to see after dark. You can help drivers see you by wearing reflectorized clothing and making sure your bike has all required lighting. A bicycle is also required to follow the same rules of the road as motor vehicles. In the eyes of the law, they are equals. But remember, in the event of a collision between a motor vehicle and a bike, the equality ends. It's the bicyclist who is going to be the big loser. In our next story, it's the dead of summer in Phoenix, and a career criminal is obsessed with escaping the problems of modern life, including the Arizona Highway Patrol. Our thanks to that department's officers for helping us reenact their true story, just as it happened.
Man, I could sure use a cold soda about now.
Sorry, man, fresh out.
Why don't you pull over to that store over there?
Maybe not.
Maybe, yeah. Pull the car over.
Okay, Carl, what's the matter with you?
Just pull the car over and stop. Both of you, get out of the car. Move it.
Kyle Ludlow has been out all morning with his friends, showing off a rifle he bought at a pawn shop the day before. Ludlow, who is known for his quick temper and erratic behavior, has been in and out of prison for the past 10 years on drug charges. The last time he was released, he came home to find his wife and one-year-old son gone.
Damn.
After taking his friend's car at gunpoint, it unexpectedly overheats. Sergeant Dan Ryan is returning to the Highway Patrol station at Saguaro Lake after testifying at a pretrial hearing. He's going to have lunch with his old friend, Officer Bob Martin. Martin, a 20-year veteran, is monitoring traffic with radar. He knows the area well, having grown up only 3 miles from where he patrols. Maricopa County Deputy Sheriff Richard Marley has been on an investigation all morning. He sees the truck passing over the double yellow line and calls dispatch. He doesn't know the truck is stolen.
28, 29, 3 Paul, 169.
Maricopa Sheriff's have a driver that won't yield.
Maricopa Dispatch puts out a location on the truck. Officer Martin is only 12 miles away from where the truck thief is heading. Sheriff's Dispatch has reported that the truck is stolen. Deputy Marley follows the truck as Officer Martin moves into position to back him up. Only seconds later, he spots the pursuit. The officer speeds ahead to try and cut off the driver. Deputy Marley keeps his primary position behind the stolen truck as it speeds down the wrong side of the highway. The deputy races ahead to set up a roadblock and radios Officer Martin to take over first position behind the truck. An armed truck thief on the run in the Arizona desert when we come back.
Time of standing tall.
Stop. Now both of you out of the car.
A man hijacks his friend's car at gunpoint. When it breaks down, he steals the truck and flees into the desert. Arizona Highway Patrol officers are called in to stop him. Officers try to pass the suspect, but he pulls out his rifle and opens fire. Sergeant Ryan now joins the pursuit. Over a dozen officers from the Department of Public Safety and other agencies join forces in trying to stop the gunman. A round from the shotgun shatters the windshield. The gunman is hit with pieces of broken glass. He was rushed to a hospital and treated for minor cuts. While awaiting trial, he jumped bail but was recaptured. He was convicted of aggravated assault against a police officer and received 15 years without probation. Bob Martin is still an officer working the lower Beeline Highway, as he has for the past 20 years. Dan Ryan now runs the Arizona Highway Patrol Field Training Program and supervises the Drug Recognition Expert Program.
Next on H&I, Renegade.
The number of alcohol-related fatal accidents has been dropping steadily in America. One of the reasons is that so many smart people have adopted the idea of having a designated driver. This individual takes over the driving duties for the night and has no alcohol to drink. The rest of the group can partake, knowing they have a safe and sober chauffeur for the evening. Next time out, someone else fills the designated driver slot. When you party, use a designated driver. It's simple, safe, and smart. When three men rob a bank in Kansas, Highway Patrol Trooper Steve Rodina heads straight into extreme jeopardy. Trooper Rodina himself helps us reenact his real story.
Hey, dudes, this bank's going down. Oh, no, man, nothing's going to happen unless I pull the pin, all right?
Give it. Let me hold on.
Man, don't worry about the grenade. Nothing's going to happen.
Here, we're together.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, okay. Oh, yeah.
Andrew Green has never broken the law before, but Bart Cooper and David Jaspers have arrest records for forgery and robbery in Indiana.
Can I help you? Yeah, I went over and checked. I can help you with that. I think you can. Let's go. This is a robbery. I got a hand grenade. I'll blow you to bed. Get back. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on, give me the money. Shut up. Shut up. All right, let's go. Give me the money. Get it. You're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. Let's go. Let's go. Shut up. Get out of my way.
The men take over $9,000, but drop nearly half of it leaving the bank.
Call the authorities.
Kansas Highway Patrol Trooper Steve Rodina comes from a law enforcement family. 3 of his cousins are policemen. He himself was a deputy sheriff and Marine MP.
Oh, Jesus.
Just as Rodina hears the armed robbery bulletin from dispatch, he sees 2 of the men ducking down in a car matching the description.
It's not a problem, man. It's not a problem.
351, I believe this is a suspect vehicle eastbound from I-70 in California.
Oh, shit. He's got his lights on, man. Take him out. Take him out. Shoot him. Shoot. Get him off my ass.
Rodina chases the armed man on the Kansas Turnpike at breakneck speed.
Down westbound lane 2 is roadblock set up at Lawrence.
The robbers try to lose the trooper by going the wrong way on the turnpike, but they can't shake him. Rodina is joined by backup trooper Bill Brockman. Game of turnpike tag on the Kansas highway when we come back.
Put your hands.
Yeah, let's go. This is a robbery.
3 men hold up a bank in Topeka, Kansas, and escape with more than $4,000 in cash. Highway Patrol Trooper Steve Rodina sees them almost immediately, chasing them at over 100 miles an hour on the turnpike. Tim Locken and Ron Hopkins arrive to back up Rodina and Brockman.
Over here. You! Behind the fridge! Hands up! Hands up! I'm not armed! Walk forward! Remote! Here he is! Get your hands on your head!
Two of the men were captured at the scene. The third gunman was arrested 3 days later without incident. They were all found guilty of aggravated robbery and given 18 years in prison.
The decision to make deadly force weighed heavily on my mind, but again, there was the innocent people that were out there that I was concerned with.
Steve Rodina is now a master trooper and serves on security detail for the Kansas House of Representatives.
I think you underestimate how ugly. No.
Vehicle theft ranks right alongside burglary as one of the most expensive property crimes in the country. The problem is that little or no significant punishment is given to auto thieves because, in part, auto theft is seen as a victimless crime since insurance companies pick up the tab. However, most criminals in state prison have at least one charge of auto theft in their records. But most of them did not go to prison for that crime. They proceeded to more serious violent crimes for which they were ultimately caught and punished. Perhaps if we were more unforgiving about vehicle theft, we could stop a number of criminal careers before they get started. Nebraska State Troopers provided our next real story. It begins with a jailbreak and goes on to demonstrate the courage and quick thinking of Nebraska State Trooper Harold Neihart.
This one's okay. Yeah, this is okay. Talked about this before.
Gerald Morton has been a bank robber for nearly 30 years. His specialty is breaking into safes. He's also served time for grand larceny, stolen firearms, and assault on a federal officer. Workers have left a cutting torch locked in an empty cell. Morton, who's escaped from 3 prisons across the country, uses the torch to cut open an escape route. All of the escapees are captured almost immediately, except for the mastermind, Gerald Morton. Trailed by the FBI, he avoids capture by them and the Omaha Police Department.
Hey, I got a couple.
Trooper Harold Neihart is having breakfast with his family before starting his day shift.
Okay, I'll get you some.
As he leaves home, Neihart is one of the troopers put on alert. Now desperately running from 3 law enforcement agencies, the convict has been driving the back roads of Nebraska.
Hi.
After running out of gas,
Hi.
he asks a farmer for help.
You have some gas I can buy? Nope, but I can take you to the gas station if you want me to. Thanks. Come on, card over here.
Nebraska troopers set up checkpoints throughout the area.
What's happening there? I don't know. Looks like they're talking to someone. Make a left right here. This one's closer. But I got a credit card for a gas station just down the road here.
The escapee avoids another trap. Trooper Neihart has been checking all the back roads just outside of Springfield.
Have you seen any unusual things this afternoon?
No, not really.
Anybody speeding by or anything? Seen anything? Yes, this man says his brother says he might have taken him for gas. He's at the farm. It's 2 miles east, 2 miles south, 4 miles. Get in.
Is that your brother? Where's the owner of that car?
Over in the barn.
Come on over here.
The trooper's pistol deflects a deadly bullet. A trooper alone and under fire when we come back.
Fight it alone.
A prisoner in and out of jail for more than 20 years escapes from a Memphis prison. He manages to avoid capture by the FBI. On the run in Nebraska, he's tracked to a remote farm by Trooper Harold Neihart.
Gotta get some help here right away.
The trooper's shot grazes the fugitive's foot.
Give me more shells! Get your hands way up and move over here!
The fugitive was convicted of shooting with intent to kill and served 5 years of a 20-year sentence. While on parole, he disappeared and was finally recaptured in South America. He died in prison of cancer.
One of the toughest moments was when I got hit. I knew I wasn't seriously hit, but I knew somebody was coming. And the longer I could hold out, I knew somebody was going to come sooner or later, and then the event would be over then.
Harold Neihart suffered only a superficial wound and was treated and released. He received Nebraska's first award for valor.
Crime continues to be a major problem in our nation, and some say a problem with no clear solution. In many areas, we see crime undermining the belief that we can be safe in our own homes. But not all are standing idly by and doing nothing. Organizations like Neighborhood Watch and Crime Alert find neighbors shoulder to shoulder in a cooperative venture to reduce or eliminate crime in their neighborhood. These programs rely on people banding together to help each other. If enough people take enough interest, the crime problem isn't beyond solving. Contact your local law enforcement agency and learn how you can be part of the